Good evening. We are in the Public Arts Select Committee of Wednesday, June 7th. Hafan Squalum Christolokama Tlasquilch, Oyamil, which means welcome to the traditional territory of the Squamish Nation. There's an agenda in front of the committee. Looking for a motion to adopt the agenda. Moved by Meg, seconded by Adrian. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We'll do member introductions right now instead of at business arising. So maybe we have a few new members and we have some returning members, which is awesome. We have, I think, a good 10, 11 members now on the committee, which is great. And we do have a youth representative again, which is fantastic. They couldn't make it tonight, but they'll be at the next one, which is great. So maybe we'll just go around the room and introduce ourselves and maybe express your interest on being on the committee, and if you represent a business or an organization or something like that.
Hi, good evening. Nice to see you all. My name is Anne Languedoc, and I'm very happy to have an opportunity to contribute on this committee. I'm a practicing artist, and I'm also affiliated with Emily Carr University of Art and Design.
I'm Meg Fellows, and retired 3 years, which is very exciting. Former councillor in the 90s. My major community project right at the moment is the Turtle Trail, and so that's, well, no doubt I'll have an opportunity at some point to promote little bits and pieces of it, who knows. But there's a couple of other things that have occurred to me too that I will bring up perhaps later on, and maybe just ideas to kind of float by this group and see what you think. There are different kinds of things that have occurred to me over the years. So really happy to be here. It's really great to be engaging at this level one more time. So thank you very much. I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks, Meg.
Hello, my name is Adrian Blyhood. I'm here representing the Downtown Squamish BIA. I also I own the Zephyr Cafe in downtown Squamish, as well as most of the Ground Up Climbing Center in the industrial park. My interest in public art is, well, because I love this town and it's cool and it's awesome. And so, yeah.
And you bought out the gelato space.
I also have the gelato space, which we are working to open up, hopefully by the end of summer. But we'll see how that goes.
Right.
We're waiting on some permits and otherwise before we can figure out what we're really
I
allowed
got
to
the
do.
nudge. Good job. Devin.
My name is Devin Guest. I'm the film and event manager here at the district. My portfolio also includes public art, and I'm also the staff liaison services at Squamish Arts Council. But nice to meet all of you.
I'm Sydney Lyons. I'm the chair of the Squamish Arts Council, and I'm here because I think public art is cool, and it's also a really integral part of how we speak and think about art in the community. It's really that sort of linchpin to get people really thinking about arts and culture and community all together, because it's so highly visible and public. Yeah.
Thanks, Sydney.
I'm Toby Jackson. I am Director of Visuals at the Squamish Valley Artists Society. I'm the curator of the Foyer Gallery in the Squamish Public Library, and I'm an artist and designer, and art is pretty much my passion. So.
And I'm Fran Solar, and I'm also an artist, and I've lived here now in Squamish for 27 years. And I'm just interested in getting some good public art into this town. I work with metal.
Just
Do things with scrap.
I'm Patty. I'm the mayor, and I pretend to be an artist every once in a while, but I think I have an artist soul. And I think certainly this council's been really focused on trying to really integrate art and public art into the community vernacular and really make it part of the built environment. We've kind of done it in fits and spurts and sporadically, and really trying to take a more strategic, very almost plodding, like just every year, build up capital reserves, do smaller projects, slowly get art to insinuate into functional aspects of our community, whether it's bike racks and crosswalks to real art pieces that are provocative and statements. and get people thinking and talking and taking pride in their community. Such a big part of how to build a town. So, and I think we've come a long way. This Public Art Committee's been around for about 2 years now. Has it been 2 years? It's been 2 years. Yeah, it's been 2 years. And yeah, the old guys that have been on the committee since the beginning. And we have done some, not old. Just the senior, no, not
No,
seniors.
not senior.
The people who have been on the committee, the founders. Okay. And we have done some public pieces with Christina Nick's work, the banner program, and now the murals and a bunch of other things. And we're going to get to the murals, but I think we're going to jump around the agenda a little bit because we do have our fabulous project manager, Matt Simmons, and his wonderful son, Cody, who are going to talk to us about crosswalk designs from the elementary schools. Come on up to the table. So part of Mayor for the Day this year, we sent out a little bit of we want to get your ideas on simple crosswalks. And we did give them some instructions that they couldn't be too ornate. They needed to sort of fit in with the black-white color context. And so we got a whole bunch of submissions. And I wanted to pass them around, and I was trying to think, maybe one way we can do it is if you think it's worth exploring further, maybe put a check mark on the back, and we'll see how many check marks each one gets. I think that's a good enough idea.
That's a great idea.
And then Matt can maybe talk about some of the parameters around which we can do these within the community, and what kind of paint and where we can put them, and some constraints or framework that we need to use in order to make sure they're not making things unsafe for people and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I think I could start by just saying, yeah, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come, is to try to kind of pair up the creative parts and then how we're applying that into the road system and crosswalks, and if they're at a school. There's all sorts of guidelines through the Transportation Association of Canada, which talks about how crosswalks should look. And then when you deviate from that, you just have to know kind of what you're up against. So I've looked through some of these before, I've seen them. I think a function of them is, where do you want to put them? And we can help with that as far as what they might want to look like. If it's a controlled, like you'll notice around town, uncontrolled crosswalks have the zebra, so it looks like a zebra. It's just kind of the 2 foot by 3 meters or 2 meters crosswalks that exist on uncontrolled crosswalks, so meaning there's no stop sign that stops a car before crossing them, so all of the schools would have the zebra. When you have a controlled intersection, you'll notice there'll be 2 6-inch solid bands typically, so on intersections that have a 4-way stop, typically you would see those 2 solid lines. Now downtown, with some of the street safe upgrades that happened in the 90s with the concrete and the red bricks, a lot of that paint was not included. Some of them have them, some of them not, but we're trying to make them consistent, so there's that component of it. The other one is the longevity of it, and so having been involved in both the rainbows and the creative hardwired branded logo in the Cleveland job last year, there's a lot of different options as far as what type of paint and how it's applied, what those costs are. And like any of these things, it's only as good as what you're putting it on. So if you've got an old damaged road, to invest in a 5-year paint, if the road's falling apart, it won't last anyway. So that the substrate to which you're applying the paint is important to consider as well. There's a few different technologies or products out there, and each one of them has their pluses and minuses. So the first one, I guess, just to talk about these crosswalks is there's been lots of discussion, lots before my time. People are keen, hey, we want to paint roads, we want to paint all this stuff. I don't know, as somebody who works on our road network and having the public out in roads and having that and traffic control and liability, I don't know if that's the way that this wants to unfold. As far as this is concerned, one of the things that I thought is that you can make a template, and the template could be used with, we have a sprayer that we have within the District of Squamish in our operations group that will go out and do small painting. We paint the fields at Brennan Park, so we could go out and just apply a regular line paint, but that's probably going to last about a year. So you're going to have to reapply. And when you start getting into the resolution of the creativity of these designs, if it's very intricate, it's very difficult to maintain that year over year. So that has to do a bit of what does the actual design look like? How intricate is that line work? And there are limitations for that. But that's one way that we could do easy, low cost, have to reapply every year, but a template could be made locally, we could have the paint and we could do that. There's other ones like the Hardwired for Adventure Squamish logo that's on Cleveland.
The Eye of the Creator one, that's.
Yeah, the Eye of the Creator. So that one, that's about as nice as you can get, where that is actually made and all those bits and pieces are cut out, they're put into a grid and the grid comes and they cook that right into the road. That's probably the most expensive option. The rainbow crosswalks are yet another different product. It's referred to as MMA, but it's a very strong kind of solvent paint. When you put that stuff down, it's like glue. And the rainbows have weathered pretty well over the winter, but you'll notice when you apply it on existing concrete, what happens is the plows tend to just scrape those high points off. So, existing concrete is a good material, but because the variability of the surface, you'll find that as it wears, it's going to wear from the plows on those high points. And then just the regular paint. So there's kind of 3 different options. There's lots of different contractors and there's lots of stuff getting done all around North America. But those are kind of the most readily available
So
options
the Eye of
for
the
us.
Creator one lasts about how long?
That one typically, that type of technology should last for 5 years. They can touch it up. There's a few little cracks that opened up on that from the frost over the winter. And he's gonna come up when we're gonna do the other crosswalk, the railroad track ones across Cleveland at Maine. So they'll do that before Canada Day, hopefully, if that comes away. And so we'll take a look at that, but they can do repairs on those as well.
And then the rainbow crosswalk with that paint, how long do they last?
They can be about the same. They can be touched up as well. It depends on how many people are doing brake stands through the intersection, or what is the impact of weather. Those things all do have an impact. But again, the material itself has held up quite well. I think if you
We were
to
told 8 to 10 years, so.
yeah, I think in talking to those guys, I think it's 5 to 10 depending on the environment to which they're in. I think, and so last year was a tough year for frostiness and the impacts on the roads.
Yeah. And then just the regular zebra stripe paint, usually a year to 2 years, depending on the traffic.
Yeah, so the stuff that you would see largely around town, we've recently, this morning, completed most of the line work, so that we reapply every year on that. So that's the yellow center line and the 2 flat lines on the side of the road. That gets reapplied, and then all the stop bars, the zebras, all that other handwork gets done every year on every intersection that's accomplished. So that's one thing. There is also a more expensive type of paint that you can do, which we sometimes do on busy intersections like Cleveland Avenue, where it's very disruptive to do that type of work, where we'll do thermal applied, which it has another multiple of cost against it, but it's very difficult to do any intricate line work in that, because you basically have a burner on a truck where you're kind of preheating that paint and it cooks into the road.
And that's like the bike lane. Is that the same stuff as the bike lane?
Like the green?
Yeah.
The green is the MMA.
Okay.
So that's that one that's kind of roller applied. But the thermal, the one thing that you'll notice on Highway 99, if you're coming into downtown, you notice there was a hole where the arrow was in the road. That was a thermal applied paint. And what happens is the heat from that separates the oil from the gravel and the asphalt, and it'll deteriorate the asphalt as well in some cases with frost, where the water can get in, and that's what happened on the highway this winter.
It comes out in clumps then.
So it's not about we can or can't. It's just about those are kind of the tools in the toolbox as far as trying to realize maybe some of these creative type of options on the road system.
On the previous slide, there was an image of the normal zebra stripes, but with some colors in between. Yes, it was on that previous one.
The one that you were just talking
It's the bottom left. You can see.
Oh, yeah.
So in, I'm just thinking,
yeah,
in
that
that
was good.
case, I like that. So in that case, we could just take your normal zebra stripe and just, could we just use just some sort of,
Template?
not template, but just deck paint or something, colors, and so that you're still, you've still got the integrity of the zebra stripe, but the community could come out and do some graphics like that, and it wouldn't obviously last for more than a season, right?
Yeah.
But would it, like, is that something feasible,
Now,
you know?
I am personally totally open to the community going out and painting it. I'd love to see the community out and paint it, because then the rest of the community starts seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
Operations doesn't necessarily like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you can set it up for it so that it's safe. You
Well,
can
that-
close the road
that-
down.
I mean, that could just be a normal, like, I see that there is some sort of detail, it looks
Mhm.
like there's some triangles at the end or something on the normal zebra stripe, but
But yeah, you could totally incorporate existing zebra stripes in
Yeah.
another design.
yeah.
I just know from talking to other people and certainly these trades, like the latex Home Depot kind of solution here can be like a week in
Yeah.
some cases, so
Right.
it's been,
Yeah.
it's not been great in some
Okay.
instances, but if if it doesn't hurt to try, I mean, you can try one and see, but I would have a pretty low expectation on how long that would last. And as well, you have to take into consideration, sometimes we end up putting some sand in with the paint a lot of times for traction. A lot of these, when they get wet, they get really slippery. And so a regular paint would maybe be slippery and at a stop.
I was
We
actually-
could order the proper paint
Right,
in certain colors.
in certain colors, yeah.
Absolutely.
I think if you guys, as a committee or as a group, you can figure out the things that, hey, this is what we want to do. When you know what that is, I think we can probably help you come up with what that looks like, and depending on, hey, it's a one-year deal or a reapply, or this is going to be something that we want here for a long time, then we just have to give you guys those options, what those products
And
look
then
like,
we
and then the
can come up
costs are
with a budget.
associated, and then, because we can technically do, we can do these things.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just about ensuring that you've got the budget and that it's going to turn out the way that you want.
And it's done,
And
and it's done
again,
safely.
like, really crisp lines like that would be very difficult to do with a thermal paint. But if you wanted to do, like if you were saying, hey, cost is not an option, I want it to look like that, we can do it. It's just that it would be very expensive. So,
And I think it's okay for it to be non-permanent. I think it's okay for art to be non-permanent. And we're going to redo a sidewalk anyway and crosswalk.
I've got a couple of questions, and I don't know if you've already discussed this kind of stuff, so I apologize if that's the case. But I'm just wondering, on sidewalks, you've talked about, painting on asphalt kind of thing. Do you have comments if one was looking at squares in a sidewalk kind of thing? Have you looked at that? Is that a possibility? Is that similar kind of problems?
No, I mean, I know that there was, I think it was the Boys and Girls Club that was wanting to do, it was like when it got wet, it came up, and then when it was dry, you didn't see it, and there's those types of things. I mean, I think you gotta just kind of make sure you know what whoever's doing it, and it's not gonna become slippery or something like that. But I don't see, I mean, I think it probably depends on where it is, like in front of whose business or residence, but, I think the stuff in intersections is a bit trickier because of, you wanna make it not confusing, like as much as it's an opportunity for art, you don't want it to be confusing as to
Right.
what is the
What's the
role of
purpose
the,
of it?
like who's got the right of way or where am I allowed to be, but.
And somebody who actually wants to stop in the middle of the crosswalk to actually look at this fabulous art.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a good thing to
Yeah,
have.
yeah, but that being said, I think if you could narrow the focus of the ones that you're really feeling strongly about, then we can go back and we could find out what those options might look like, what the longevity and costs are, and then you guys could decide what works best for you.
Do you have more questions?
Yeah, I do. Have you talked about like a pilot and what might be the target areas to do that kind of thing? Or is that
We
been-
did talk about doing a crosswalk adjacent or close to some of the schools that submitted these designs if we chose one or two. And do them in proximity to the school and try to, involve the kids in it.
And then see if that kind of worked, and then it could be expanded, so schools would be the target for
Well,
crosswalks.
And that
which
was
is-
just the initial, but I think we're open to
And we did mention making it, like, using downtown, of course, is more of a, like, starting point to have more incorporated, yeah.
Well, I'm just wondering, because having some coherence and some planning, in terms of this, I think would be useful for budget purposes and just testing and that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
And then just the only other one is, so we've done all the line work in town, and the handwork that we'll do is gonna be likely complete by the end of the month. So if there's one that you would like us not to do, because the other challenge for this is eradicating existing paint in roads is very expensive. It's equally as expensive as putting the paint down, because you try to put the stuff down that will stay, and then to get rid of it. In lots of cases, you'll notice like we've got to actually grind the road to get it off, because there is no easy way. So if there's something about a crosswalk that you guys would like to do, or like us to do for you, then if you've identified where it might be, then we might hold off on doing that paint, because to eradicate would probably equal the budget of whatever it would be to put it down. So that'd be something that maybe.
Well, that's the reason why this stood out to me, because you've already got the zebra stripes, black and white down, or
And
the
then
white
the
on.
colors are just simple triangles.
Yeah, you could have some fun in between here.
Yeah.
I mean, if you search Google Images, there's so many. I mean, the ones that make you look like you're falling off into a hole, and the 3D. I mean, there's so many options, and I think lots of people have done lots of different creative things around, and certainly the people that we work with on other projects when we do it, like they're a great resource for us as well, and they're keen for that. Like the guy that's going to do the railroad track crossing for us, which is a zebra with railroad tracks on it. He was really keen for it. And these guys always have lots of ideas as well, because they're in the business of doing this all the time, and so they could be a good resource for us as well.
The other question that I had, the corridor trail, and the crosswalks of the trail going across the road, has there been anybody looking at the possibility, instead of having a green, which I think is totally brilliant, but actually using that as a canvas for community artwork?
That's totally possible, yeah. Currently, it's mostly green. I think there's a
green,
whole.
green with elephant's feet. Like, so what we're trying to do, like at Finch, you'll notice there's green with elephant's feet. So the elephant's feet identifies that's a multi-use trail, and that it's 3 meters wide, and that's green. There's also like the ones that we'll do at Rose Park to the Adventure Center, that one that we're gonna do. The ones that we'll do at the Smoke Bluffs to join the new entrance of the Smoke Bluffs back to the Corridor Trail, and even the 2 around the Centennial Government intersection where we've recently done that sidewalk, as well as Queensway. Those we're trying to build some consistency into those as well. So we'll see the elephant's feet with the green there, and we're slated to do those very quickly as well. So again, if those are ones that we want to put the brakes on, we need to know that relatively soon.
Yeah,
And we're doing
like in
those
North
work.
Vancouver, all their bike lane has a funky pattern to cross the crossing, and so we could consider that too. Absolutely.
I would hate to delay that, because I honestly think that those are really needed and would be really cool to do it. But it's just another opportunity of looking at joining trails, and instead of having sign markers, you have certain kind of artwork that goes around, kind of thing that might be useful.
Absolutely. And I think in cases like when we're talking about stencils and stuff, like whatever kind of stencil that we could get made would be something that would be relatively easy. But depending on how intricate it is and trying to reapply that every year, you might lose some of your, the artist's intent, or like if it gets into it, sometimes they don't quite turn out the way they'd like. But we can absolutely do that. So if we just need a little direction and know where you guys would like to do it, we can.
Go ahead. That's okay.
The community trail, because I know you're a cyclist, right? The corridor trail, just north of the, by the funeral home kind of thing there, the new section. There's actually some concrete barriers, and some of the graffiti artists have been in there. I think they've been
That's Toby.
Those were some of my students, my
student
kids.
project from
Yeah.
Toby.
I think it's totally
Project.
brilliant. I love it. I think it's wonderful.
Good, because we had some negative comments while we were doing it, while they were doing it.
That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's
I get
what
negative
artists
comments
get
every
to,
day.
is to see the conversations.
Me too.
But I would love to see a program so that we could actually look at more of that kind of stuff. Again, like along the trails, or along the Turtle Trail or something like that. And then staff, when they're actually looking at putting concrete, whatever they're called, for barriers and stuff, could maybe choose the smooth ones so that they're better for an artist canvas kind of thing.
And
Yeah.
Arts Council's doing
Yeah.
some stuff with kids this summer to do some art walls, and we can add that into the whole. I think it's great. Yeah.
And the murals have been effective, like the underpass at Centennial, and even the one that the alternate school just recently finished on the Namco.
Oh, they have. I haven't seen it yet. Do we have
Yeah, it's
pictures
cool.
of that?
I do in my email.
Okay, great.
But absolutely, I mean, those are called Jersey barriers or no post barriers, that the ones that are on Harris Road there, and, you know, they're all over the place, and absolutely.
Well, again, my thought would be, instead of having higgledy-piggledy everywhere, to sort of say, okay, let's define one trail kind of thing and work along that trail. And then move to a different area of the community, or look at schools and school barriers there, and then provide that canvas, you know, for kids. Because I don't suspect that it's the same kind of issue as it is on the roads.
Yeah, it's not, you know, the safety of the road users are not really in question.
And it would be fairly straightforward to come and then just paint them all white and then start all over again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then other communities as
Yeah,
well,
yeah, cool.
like, you know, Surrey, I think, is the one that has the most robust wrap, like any hydro boxes, any generator, any kind of infrastructure that's in the public, that's like mandatory for wrapping. So one of the most recent opportunities that came up is we were just finishing the installation of the generator by the watershed for the sanitary lift station. It was supposed to come green, and it kind of came this yellowish color, and so that is an opportunity for us to put a wrap on that at no cost. That would be something that, you know, maybe this committee would be interested in either designing something or assigning someone to do that.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
so-
for sure, absolutely. Yes, and
You're saying if we're to connect into the trail idea, and you're saying we have to know soon, how soon would that be?
Well, I'm just talking about paint. So the
Okay.
paint, the existing handwork, like all the stop bars and all the zebra crossings, as well as all these new active transportation kind of connections,
Yeah.
those are all, like, we're just looking for a window and a contractor to show up, and there's no, like, so those will be, we'll have to go and put the brakes on if you guys want to not do one of those, I guess. Otherwise, they'll be done, and, you know, they could be done in a week if we get the.
But there's
weather
going to be
for it.
more coming.
Yeah.
at us.
No, absolutely, I just, if
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
one thing
Yeah.
that somebody feels really strong
Yeah.
about, this is the one, this is the showcase piece, or this is. what
And it could be, sort of more to Toby's point, that we simply use some of the zebra design
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Like
alter
any
it
one of
somehow.
those, almost, you could use the
Exactly.
existing
basic
zebra and add to it and just,
Yeah,
I like the
that idea.
hopscotch one myself.
Yeah.
So that, I have a second question. Would the paints similar to the rainbow, it was MMA?
Yeah, it's like, it's a scientific methylmyacetylene, something like that,
Yeah, and it comes in different colors as the
Yeah.
rainbow crosswalks, but can that be hand applied? Or does it have
yeah.
to
Yeah,
be-
that was all rolled.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is. I mean, it's, I don't, like, you know, it's very
You need to
potent.
know how to
and
handle it.
Breathing apparatus,
Oh,
like it's, you know, like
it's
it's a very toxic, you know, you need to be well ventilated, and, you know, it can be harmful to people, so we would probably not wanna get that kind of paint and let.
Yeah, we
anybody do
probably
It's what
hire
we're
the
using.
contractors to do that, but it's
Yeah.
more the paint that maybe is there for a year that we might be able to engage the community a bit more with.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of places do it, so I can't see why we wouldn't be able to figure it out.
yeah. And maybe that's the way, maybe that's, and I, you know, like any of these things, you gotta start, you gotta build, and so maybe that's what it is, but, yeah, I mean, there's lots of opportunity out there, there's 100 kilometers of road.
yeah.
Awesome, any more questions from Matt? Don't see any. Thanks for coming in, that was
Yeah.
awesome.
Okay.
Thanks for coming in, buddy.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks.
See you guys.
So, there were sort of, I think these are all threes, and there might be a four in terms of a tick on the back. We're sort of what the group narrowed it down, and maybe we'll try to narrow that group down a bit. This was a two, and these all had just, oh no, this was a two as well. These all just had one.
Eagle.
I'm so tired of eagles, I can't.
Another.
The eagle's kind of a geometric.
Yeah, keyboard. Zebra.
I was
So-
thinking railway kind of.
Yeah, railway.
Railway keyboard.
We are doing two railways on the end of where the new section of Cleveland is being finished,
Right.
over to the park
Right.
on the water.
Yeah.
Is that right? Or-
From, it will run basically from August Jack over to Junction Park on the very south end of the park.
Cool. And we don't have to pick one of these per se, although I think it's fine to pick one and just do one. It doesn't have to be complicated. I think simple is good, just a little simple and different. I kind of like the idea of friends, and it could be that we incorporated it into zebra stripes and just blacken out letters, and have the artist do something that we can figure out into an existing design, something like that.
Yeah, that could easily be
I just like
mocked
the
up.
idea of having friends going from school,
Yeah.
I agree. I like the message, and I think it resonates with the whole community brand as well, right?
Yeah.
It could easily be mocked up so that we could see what this design would look like actually against a black and white.
Yeah. Anyway, should we do one of those? And we could get something too, like this one we could actually just get to Matt's team, and we could make sure we just get our graphics team to set it up in a template, and they could just do it.
Yeah, if I could, recommend a motion that assigned some dollars and a general stencil or an idea.
Yeah.
That would be great.
We could set up
And the only thing that I'm thinking also is that it would, Matt's timeline sounds like it aligns very closely with the end of school, and just,
yeah.
I would think that if, I could work with Matt on a easy to execute crosswalk, in one of the school areas. And we could just,
Can you grab the one that says friends? Where are they from?
Artist is Danny Roll, Brackadale.
Do one at the Brackendale School, that'd be cool. It's generally, everyone's kind of cool with that. Now, one thing Matt didn't talk about was, it costs about $500 to do just a straight up zebra stripe. The rainbow ones were about $8,000. And then the $500 to $800 for the zebras, depending how long it is. They were about $8,000 each, and then the Eye of the Creator was 11.
it was substantial, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm
but
sorry.
they're supposed to last 10 years, so it kind of almost equates to about the same per year over the time frame of the design, but they are significantly more. So if we want to do something that lasts a long time, we have to figure out a budget ahead of time and make sure we count it in our budgeting every year. But if we just want to do a couple of these, and Ops already has $500 allocated to each design, so if it costs us $300 more to make a stencil and do it, that's not going to break the bank. So just to give some idea of costs.
Can I ask,
Yeah.
this design, would it go right across the crosswalk, or would it go in between a zebra stripe, or would there be, I don't have a sense of
I
the
think
actual size of it.
I think it was meant to be like the whole width, like here's
That's
the
right,
sidewalk,
from
here's the
side to
sidewalk.
side. Okay.
Yeah, and I think there's lots of opportunity to work with the BIA and the business community to, for example, do a musical one at the corner of near Sam or something, and
Absolutely. The only concern there is it sounds like Matt's hesitant to do anything on any street that's sort of a busier street, because he has to shut it down for a period of time, which just makes people angry. That is the one consideration that we should think pretty long and hard before we, obviously the best one would be the Scotiabank
yeah,
crosswalk there, or the ledge, or whatever is there, going over to sort of post office. That would be the best one, because they don't put in
yeah.
stripes, but we can put anything there, it'd be cool. The issue is if it takes 3 hours and we're closing down Cleveland Avenue for 3 hours, then it gets crazy.
You do it at 8 o'clock at night, and there's like hardly any cars that are okay to go.
It's
around.
true. It's true. I
Yeah, so
totally
you can
agree.
do it all right.
But I don't know how that worked with operations then. But yeah, there's no question that, yeah, it would work really well, and business owners would be happy to help out and figure it out.
And I think some of the downtown ones, they're more like, they've got brick and they're cement, and they're delineated not with paint but with different
Material,
product.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if Matt actually paints those ones, so there might be opportunity to paint some that aren't going to be painted by Matt. Make sense? Cool. So is that, maybe we can think about it. We don't have to make a decision right this second, although I think we want to come away with a day saying, yeah, let's do one. Let's start, let's do one at Brackendale or do one at, and just have some fun with the students and,
Is there anybody against the Friends one if we did it all with capital letters?
I actually don't mind the higgledy-piggledy kid letters.
I love it.
You're just gonna set the kids back with their English. The English teachers will kill us.
No, I think it'll actually cause a lot of conversations.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Okay.
I think it's adorable.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
I like your intention, Adrian.
The other question that I have is we're coming rapidly up to the end of the school season, so when are we proposing to do this? Because kids are not available right at the moment because they're just so over the.
Yeah, and this first one, we may not include the kids in painting. We may just get
Okay.
Matt's group to just go and do it.
Yeah.
See how it goes.
But
the first time.
I'd probably go to the school and take a photo op and we'll do a, a little thank you,
Yeah.
awesome job. And we actually had some calls today asking, who won the cycle?
yeah.
From the mayor's
There's
for a day.
engagement.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah,
So is the intent to get a stencil and then hand paint it in the stencil or roll in the stencil? Is that?
I don't know, I think what we'll, go ahead, Debbie.
If I may, if it's up to the committee, if you guys are leaning towards the Friends one, what I'd like to do is just take a budget dollar from the committee and run with it with Matt in terms of the execution of it. And it would likely result in a stencil and an application given his timelines and the existing paint he has in his inventory, hopefully. If that's.
Yeah,
I was just thinking in terms of cost, it's the more complex patterns, so I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but in terms of budget.
That's a good point.
yeah, and we
It's not a
may
simple
simplify the design, just because of that. I mean, I think that's fine, we'll get Sandra or somebody to tweak it up, and it could be that there's an easier way to break it out and make it simpler and, but I'm just looking at the streetscape, the ones downtown, they just do the white line and then it's the brick and the cement. So I think there's still opportunity, even when Matt's crew is done to, for example, this is going over to Sam, you could do like musical notes or whatever they want to do really. And what we don't want is, it's not advertising per se, it's not, can't put your name on there, Sam with an arrow, or, can't do that, but,
Zephyr this way.
I'll pay for that
You just have to have the wind blowing
one. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
towards you.
and somehow the crosswalk goes like this. I don't know what happened, it goes right to Zephyr.
Well,
The machine was drunk. Awesome. Okay, so why don't we just quickly move on, staff updates, mural project.
Do you need a motion?
I thought I'd just let people just think
Think
about
about
it.
it.
We'll come right to the end, we'll put a motion at the end of the meeting.
Copy that. To give everyone a brief update on the Squamish mural project.
And maybe just, some new committee members might not know, so maybe just a little background with it too.
Yes, absolutely. In 2017, specifically in March, the Public Art Committee went out to competition for a number of different public art opportunities.
Inside municipal buildings.
Inside municipal buildings, and two were selected, one within the Squamish Public Library and the second being within Brennan Park Recreation Center. The two artists chosen were Sierra Douglas for the library and Stan Makachuk,
Matrichuk.
thank you, of Brennan Park. And so since they have successfully won the competition, staff have been in touch with artists working towards getting things up and running. Sierra is well underway, as you can see from the pictures. Both artists are scheduled to be done by the end of June, and Stan's intent is to begin anytime now. The next image is Stan's updated. It's not a render. It's a version.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, he's really in consultation with Brendan Park and Rec Services. They basically said, you know, you are open, this space is yours, feel free to create and use any space available. And so he's come back with some a further extension of his initial application, in which he's happy to tie it all together.
Cool.
Yeah.
And she added that other, she did a new, because she did, there's a small wall and a big wall.
Correct.
And the small wall, the committee just felt wasn't, looked a little rushed and didn't quite connect with the bigger wall, and so she's redone the small wall to make it more.
Correct. So the artist has taken the imagery of the initial application on the main wall and created the same honeycomb effect to be applied to the reading area, and so it will mimic and host its own quote.
Okay, tie in more with that one.
Yeah.
Right. Awesome. And Hillary, librarian, seemed pretty excited about the whole thing.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Moving on to Stan Clark Park Mosaic. Staff have committed quite a bit of time in terms of researching mosaics, and I've reached out to a number of BC artists, as well as the City of Vancouver and the BC Public Art Network, which is made up of all of the staff leads on all the Lower Mainland communities who deal in public art. And so this specific mosaic has been put on the agenda for discussion in June as assistance. At the last meeting, Mayor, you asked about insurance and how to value things, and that really has kind of gone nowhere. MIA only deals in liability, and in terms of the district's own insurer, we don't insure public pieces of art or equipment outside of the building.
And do we know if other municipalities insure their artwork?
You know what? I don't.
It'll be interesting to know. I know
Yeah.
MIA did start to do property insurance, but I don't know if they, just a couple of years ago, but I'm not sure we do property insurance with them. But it'd be interesting to see if there are public art insurance policies out there
I will definitely
that
ask
other
that
municipalities
at the
have.
Public Art Network. Yeah. So a couple, in my research, what I found is Bruce Walter and Glenn Anderson have both reached out to me, and Bruce is a Vancouver mosaicist, and I just want to pull up some information on him. He came recommended by the City of Vancouver and a couple of other Lower Mainland communities in terms of having done mosaic work. I have sent both him and this other gentleman, pardon me, Glenn Anderson, who happens to be the brother of local
Eric Anderson.
yes, citizen Eric Anderson. And Glenn had indicates that he did spend some time working on getting this mosaic up and running initially, way back in the day. So I think from staff perspective, I think those might be two really good resources for us in terms of local knowledge and commitment to the craft, I guess I'll call that. Where I'm recommending going from here is that I would
You're having lots of success.
yeah, sorry, I'm clicking everywhere. Where I would go from here is having some public art funds dedicated to pursuing and investigating the work needed to be done. So actually bringing one or two of those individuals up, having them review things, make recommendations, and then coming back to the committee and presenting from there. And whether or not that's staff presenting or calling the artist in to specifically talk to the work.
So, do you have a budget amount you'd like us to consider to get their professional analysis?
Initially, I was thinking roughly $1,000 to put towards travel time and a small honorarium or per diem to put towards the projects. I am looking for feedback in terms of if we want one or two opinions, and if it's not either of these two gentlemen, then I'm certainly open to hearing other suggestions that the committee's comfortable with.
Thoughts?
It's a tough one.
Why is it tough?
Well, because so much time and effort was put into it, and it's in such disrepair now, and to bring it back to what it was would probably cost triple what it did back then, and it's just,
It was $100,000 project back then. I don't think it will cost $300,000. But I think,
I think we've got to talk to these,
yeah,
at least one of them.
and when you look at it, it really is the stretch where the walkway is that's really beat up.
Yes.
There's some spots that, as we talked about last time, were purposefully taken off for
Yeah.
religious reasons and stuff like that. But I think most of it's still in pretty good shape. It's just really this area where it's really cracked and trampled on.
Correct, and at a high level, to describe it, it's the shifting of the ice freeze and
The
thaw.
thaw, yeah.
And then there's the main walkway where the main kind of deterioration and degradation are happening. And then thirdly, when we had initially thought that it had been a victim of some vandalism, it later came to light that it was actually a result of some feedback from our friends in the Sikh community in terms of
So, I mean, this is my opinion. I think it's worthwhile getting an opinion, because I think it's such a valuable piece of public art, in my opinion. It's history, it's got context, it's beautiful.
yeah.
And it could be that we determine that we need to take that section out where the walkway is, and somehow maybe move it and shift it so it's not the main path of the traveling public, and that seems to be where it's being. But I'm just hypothesizing. I don't know what they'll they might have a really good way of putting a mosaic down that lasts under foot traffic and stuff.
And that's why I've purposely come to the committee this evening without an engineering opinion or an ops opinion, because I think that
Oh, I know what that opinion will be. Thank you.
yeah, they don't necessarily align with the public arts vision.
Yes.
If it's not repairable kind of thing, do we have a cost for what it costs to actually remove it or do it in chunks or whatever? If
We
sort of
can.
say that-
I think that might be part of the analysis. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely, and we can. That's an easy number for me to get from Matt as a capital project or park upgrade. Absolutely.
And that would be just a total removal, or is it possible to salvage, who knows, sections of it kind of thing?
In my discussions with staff, it's absolutely, we can do whatever we'd like. The general opinion is that the foundation is secure and that it's as good as it's going to get. From an engineering perspective, well, frankly, an engineer doesn't really want to touch a mosaic because it's art and a very structured profession coming, aligning.
So I guess the question from the committee is, do we want to spend about $1,000, hopefully, to get someone to come up here and analyze it, give us some options in terms of moving forward? I think because this was such a legacy project and funded through, looking to Meg, because she was on council the other day, some federal branch, we may be able to find other funds to actually do the rehabilitation down the road and not necessarily out of the public art fund.
yeah, like
Yeah.
some grant funds.
Exactly,
Some
and-
other
and-
sources, yeah.
But I think the baseline is we need to go and say, yeah, it's worth fixing. Yeah, it might be $20,000, might be $10,000, might be $3,000. your best bet is you'll never get this to be a walkway again, take this part out, but you can add mosaic over here and maybe you can salvage it, like, we just need that analysis
Yeah.
done. So the committee,
Well, there's not really any choice, right? No matter what, we have to have somebody look at it.
Yeah.
well, we could just leave it as it is and just let it deteriorate, but I think the committee decided last
That
time that we
Yeah.
wanted to,
We don't
that wasn't
do that.
the option we were looking at.
So motion to put $1,000 towards
Expert opinion.
bringing an expert opinion, and which expert do we want, I guess is the other question. Do we,
I think we can probably leave that up to Devin to do a bit of the vetting. They might, Mr. Anderson might have a real, wants to do this for the community kind of thing. Mr. Walther is a very much a professional, he might be priced out of our range, don't know, that's just my guess. Are you watching out there? But, yeah, so I think we should just leave maybe that decision, as long as whoever it is under, that the committee's okay with that? Unless somebody knows something specifically about Mr. Walther or Mr. Anderson, but. So moved by Adrian that we allocate up to $1,000, seconded by Sydney, for Devin to engage a professional to do an analysis of the future of the mosaic. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks. All right, mural project? Did we do the mural project already? We did the mural project. Do we have any of the, did we end up choosing any outdoor ones? We didn't end up choosing any of the outdoor ones, did we?
No, but if Chair would entertain, in addition to the agenda, the Squamish Arts Council resubmitted their
Oh, right, yeah, go ahead, for sure.
their public art application, and so the Clark Guilford station, which was originally one of the available assets for the mural project, which did not get chosen. The Public Art Committee is requesting to use that in place of the watershed, which,
I think that's awesome.
The Squamish Arts Council, yeah. So what happened was I met with Devin and
Scott
Mike.
Mont from
Scott,
Operations.
was that Scott?
Yes.
Yeah, Scott. Over at the watershed site, and this is to do the kids' art camp,
Yeah.
right? And when we actually went into the gated area and stood on the platform with these open railings and the watershed.
We saw lawsuits.
I was like, and there's like all this
Yeah.
sloped, into the water.
Yeah.
I could just see painted kids flying over the edge. So we just kind of tabled that one. And then Zoe and I did some searching around just to see, and Sydney had come up with some suggestions as well. And we determined that this site would be ideal for a
That's
kids
great.
camp, in that it's a really nice big open location. There's, it's not precarious. There's no chance, like
You can put up barricades, you can make it safe.
we're
yeah.
a ways
visible.
away from any of the traffic, and it's gorgeous. You've got the chief as the backdrop, and the surface on the building is kind of has this corrugated kind of
Mhm.
Yeah.
fluted thing, I don't know, embedded in the concrete. And so Zoe and I have had some discussions about how we can incorporate that into the design and have it be, kind of a linear, where we'd paint the receding and then have highlights on the forward
Yeah.
stuff. And so we've talked about how we can, like, we could incorporate, or the kids
Yeah.
would incorporate it, right? So.
Awesome.
So one of the questions that I had, if this gets passed or whatever.
Well, and that's where, and then that's where I just put it in front of the committee to ensure that they're comfortable with the change of location.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, everyone is cool with that? So there's a motion out there that Public Arts Select Committee allocate $500 to the Squamish Arts Council for public art application as amended at the June 6th Public Arts Select Committee meeting and affirm this location as suitable. You moving that, Toby?
Sure. Am I allowed? I think I have a conflict of interest.
I think this is great. I think it's a really nice. I'm really glad something's going sort of Valley Cliff area. I think that's awesome. Yeah, that's great.
I mean, and this photo's taken from the, you know, the inside. Like there's some trees that have been planted there to beautify or kind of maybe hide that building. But I think that
Once it's art.
Once it's art, then it's going to be a nice feature. So one of the things is the fascia board that's running around the perimeter is quite stained in that. So I was wondering, I don't know if
I'll ask.
it can be
Primed and
or pressure washed or the wall surfaces are all great, but it's just once I superimposed that mural image onto it, I kind of went, oh, okay, we need to do something about that. So if it can be either pressure washed, I mean, we can paint it.
Is it metal or?
For all I care, you
It's
can
wood.
paint on the
It's
pavement
wood.
around
It's
it.
wood.
I don't know if you
Yeah.
can paint on the gravel around it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, if it's wood, then, you guys would paint it all.
Yeah.
You need a little bit of white
So
paint.
on the left-hand wall, the receding surface there, there's a big no parking sign that's plastered in the middle of that wall, and it kind of is over top. I think it's right on top of the doors there.
Can't we do no parking on the pavement right in front of there?
Yeah. So that
Just
was
take the sign off.
that was my
That's right.
another request. Yeah. And so other than that, you know, like anything that can be, we should probably set up a meeting with Scott again just to identify any things that can't be painted.
Yeah.
Because there are some pipes and tubing and stuff that come out of it. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
And then,
That's awesome.
yeah. Otherwise,
Cool. Did we call the question, Terry?
No.
Okay, we'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Are you opposed?
No.
Your motion carries.
I've already done work.
It's worthwhile, Devin, just for, I guess mostly for Anne's and Meg's sake, to outline the budget every year. So
Yes.
and maybe I'll start and you can correct me because we've been allocating about $50,000 a year for the last couple of years, last 2 years in the Public Art Committee budget. And we've been taking 25 grand of that and putting it away for building up a reserve so we can do a statement piece at some point. That may be $100,000, maybe 150, some big statement piece or 2 statement pieces. And then we allocate a certain amount to go into maintenance. So we may, for example, for the mosaic, be able to take it out of the maintenance piece of the reserve.
Exactly.
And then we allocate about 15 grand a year to doing this ongoing, either small, last year we did Christina Nick's salmon project for 3 different locations around town. This year we're putting it mostly in, and the banners we did last year too. Although Ops paid for a chunk of the banners and we paid for some of the banners. And we paid for the artist fees. And then this year we've been doing a couple of different mural pieces, indoor, and we did try to do an outdoor one. We didn't get much uptake from artists. So it's nice to see the Arts Council coming forward with their youth program to do this. As well as, that's about it really. But so
Yeah.
we sort of have broken up that 50,000 into 25 grand going into long-term big project.
Correct.
I think it was 10 grand into maintenance every year, build up a bit of a maintenance pot so we can make sure we're preserving art that's out there and the new art that's gonna be out there, and then 15 grand a year to just keep art proliferating in the community. So that's sort of how it's broken up now. Yeah, Devin and Meg and Toby.
I did a budget update for the committee in April. Before you break for August, I'll make sure that the July meeting includes a year-to-date so that you
Okay,
guys can
great.
think about stuff.
Awesome. And then the other project that's ongoing right now is the Hydro Box
Yes.
project, and we're doing 6 Hydro Boxes?
Correct. Yeah.
When are they going in, do we know?
The competition will go out very shortly.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Very shortly.
I think that's it. Oh yeah, sorry, Megan, then Toby.
Yeah. The statement piece that you talked about, first of all, congratulations on the planning for the arts budget. It's fabulous to actually see that. The statement piece, has there been discussion around that in terms of what it might look like, when it might be, and I guess I'll come right forward right now and say I really would like to see at some point, not right away, but I would really like to see a residential school memorial, carving, whatever kind of thing in the district of Squamish at some point after we've done some more work on building bridges between the communities and that kind of thing. So I'm just wondering that larger kind of scale project, if there's discussion about what might trigger that or the actual process.
Yeah. I think early on, and I looked at those guys who've been on the committee for, early on it was just, let's start putting money away. It's probably going to take 4 or 5 years to get to 100 some odd grand to really do a statement piece.
Yeah.
And so we really haven't had much conversation about, we did have a tiny bit of conversation about making sure we're honoring reconciliation and First Nations. The Eye of the Creator crosswalk is one, and we're doing, the canoe shed and some other things we're doing are getting us slowly there. The Turtle Trail is a big part of that too.
And I'm not saying
and so
that
the
it
total-
should be imminent. and
So
I'm certainly
no,
not-
we have not made any determination.
Yeah.
We have just sort of basically said, probably gonna take 4 or 5 years to build up the bank account.
Okay,
to
and
be able
then
to-
kind of assess at that point
Yeah.
what might be suitable
Yeah.
projects. Kind of thing.
And at that point, we might be able to leverage it
Yeah,
to do multiple.
Get other funding.
Once you have money, you can get money.
yeah.
If you have no money, you can't get any. That's kind of accurate. Yeah, and we've, yeah. And we really had that conversation right up front when we started to just, out of first year of the committee, we only had $15,000, so we didn't do much. 2016, we had 50, and 2017, we had 50, so we've been able to start to build up that reserve. About right?
Yep.
Okay. Toby?
I just wanted to mention that this is not the design, that was just
Just to give an idea.
just to show color splash on there. It's not the design. The children are going to be a big part of coming up with the design.
Sorry, I liked it, so I
No, that's okay. That's okay.
That's the nice thing about
the
art, none of us can
idea.
agree.
The idea is that it's going to be colorful and graphic and
Fun.
enhance the entrance to Valley Cliffs.
That's awesome. I love
Yeah.
it. Okay, that's our agenda. There aren't any recommendations from councils or referrals, but we always do a roundtable at the end of the meeting. Maybe I'll just quickly start. Christine, Nick, and I were talking about doing. I'll see if I can dig it up. Doing salmon bike racks. I'll just try to dig it up here. And I actually showed it to a developer, and he liked them so much he's contacted Christina and ordered 4 of them to go all along the waterfront on Mamquam. It's Michael Hutchison, and he loved it, and so he's working with Christina when she comes back from France in the fall, and they're not cheap, so yeah, it's going to be kind of cool. I'll try to dig up that. But we're still sort of faced with this bit of a conundrum with Sam, because they have so many kids going there biking to Squamish Academy of Music, and there's no place for them to lock their bikes in and around that area, so they end up with 12 bikes inside the music space. And I'm almost thinking that we, even if we get those round ones and
Yeah.
just put 3 or 4 just along Second Avenue, and then you still have room to walk carriages on. The problem with Second Avenue is the
It's really
sidewalk is really narrow. We talked about maybe taking up one parking stall and putting some within a parking stall, or finding a space within some of those yellow triangles at the end where you can't park a car, but there might be enough space to have some bike racks. So we've talked about that, but at this point I kind of just want to get some up.
That's great direction for clarification. Staff are ready to order and install, specifically Matt, we were talking about it today. He's ready to get those bike racks just bike racks
Yeah.
out to service that Second Avenue Sam corridor,
Yeah,
as opposed to the salmon bike rack
yeah,
that is now committed.
That
So
would-
that's great.
yeah. Yeah, so, and there might be room, it's a narrow sidewalk, but there might be room for just that one, and you have two bikes on either side, and you put like 3 or 4 of them down as opposed to one where you take up quite a bit of sidewalk space. So,
And
yeah, go to N and then Meg. Yeah.
I'm just confused, is that something, so just the regular bike racks that we're putting up in, for Sam, is that part of the committee budget?
It, not necessarily, this was just something that came up.
It's a need.
And I just brought it to the committee just to make sure the committee was involved and just okay. When we're doing any sort of public art, we just want to make sure the committee knows about it, sanctions it, fits in with the messaging we're trying to do, and especially if it's on public lands. This is the filter through which people are putting public art on public lands that we own. This is the filter here, public art thing. Make it easy.
This is perhaps a silly question, but is there any thought about having a mid-block crossing in front of Sam or close there? Because it would be very cool to have the bike racks in conjunction with that, so we could put the bike racks not only on the west side, but also on the east side.
I don't think there's too much interest. It's a really short block to do another crosswalk in that block between
I
Pemberton.
always jaywalk.
A lot of people do.
I do too.
A lot of people do. Yeah.
It's only something to think about.
I do believe in an operational plan somewhere that zone is slated for a crosswalk at some point. I think if we, from our operations perspective, want to be responsive and agile, then the bike rack that operations is ready to put in just goes in, and then the bigger connected
Yeah, fair enough.
vision starts to unfold.
It's just, it is such a narrow sidewalk, and I've
Yeah.
seen people kind of bouncing off each other and actually.
But we should put some
It's-
on both sides of.
Well, as I say, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's really important, I think, to get it.
Yeah.
Get it up.
Adrian, did you have your hand up?
I did not know.
Okay. Why don't we go around the table? We'll start with Fran. Any round table discussion?
Not for me.
Okay, Toby?
I just want to say that I really would like to thank the Squamish Arts Council for their initiative to put together the Chili Bus, and Sydney was big spearheading that, and it was an awesome night, and it was a great show of support for the Squamish and Howe Sound artists to be up in Whistler for the opening night of the Chili Experience, and there definitely wouldn't have been that many of us up there if it hadn't been for the bus, and
Yeah, that's great.
it was awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the whole experience was great too. So,
Oh, I'm sorry I missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
oh, it's fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah. Thanks to the Squamish Connection too for donating their time and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really kudos, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. That's good.
Sydney, do you have anything else?
We actually, the Squamish Arts Council is part of the Youth at Art project with the DC Arts Council, which this public art camp is a part of. We just launched a series of scholarships that aren't just for camps that are held by the Squamish Arts Council, but for any art camp in Squamish. So, if you know any kids who might need scholarship to go to camp this summer, there's scholarships available.
Is that on your website?
It's on the website.
cool.
We've also posted a link to our Facebook page, but the application form is posted on our website currently. Yeah. I think the requirements are 18 and under, and again, there's a whole form there.
That's awesome. Adrian?
I don't really have any business to bring, unfortunately.
Things are going well with the BIA. I'm just trying to look for this Christina next sketch.
What's that? You like the purple?
Purple?
It's definitely, it'll be better once the old Zephyrs close down and I can repaint in front of that one away. It's too much for Corey now.
Meg, you wanna bring us up to date with your Turtle Trail, or?
Oh, Turtle Trail, the actual interpretive piece, which in my head is a large component of that will be, you know, artists in terms of opportunities for them to contribute. And the process of actually going about doing that is going to be a really good question. It's actually been backburnered a little bit as I am trying to figure out the access piece, both for buildings and for trails. So that's proving to be a little bit more difficult, but hopefully by the end of the month or shortly thereafter, we should have the map brochure of the Turtle Trail out, you know, for community, having a look at it and feedback and that kind of stuff. So it's still chugging along, but you always get these sidetracked here, there, and everywhere else. Things are not quite as simple as one thought they were. So that's kind of Turtle Trail, and I'll keep you updated. The other thought that I had, and this is just totally extraneous, and I don't know how tight our rules are here, but we have a problem in Squamish with people and the dog poo and the green bags and that kind of stuff, and I'm flinging them into the trees, and then as soon as the eagles come and all the leaves go off the tree, you can see all these beautiful trees festooned with green garbage bags. And I thought, well, maybe at the beginning of the trail we should have designated poo trees. So we have a little competition between the various communities and that kind of stuff to see who can have the best decorated poo tree. And then I thought, well, maybe it would be kind of fun if we had AA Mill poo houses on some of the garbage cans painted there.
We could have poo corners.
Poo corners, to have people actually encouraged through humor to actually dispose more responsibly of those things. So it's just a little kind of thing. It might be kind of cool to kind of use art in the service of community kind of thing. That it might be something to think about. That's it.
Anne?
Not today.
No? I'm just trying to find this Christina Nick design. I can't remember where I have it. But so talk amongst yourselves.
Can I ask a question of the wonderful painted pianos? Did you guys get rid of them?
Yeah.
How come one didn't end up in Brennan Park so people are waiting and could actually? Did you think about that?
Yeah, Brennan Park already has a baby.
A painted piano?
It has a baby
A
grand
baby
piano.
grand
I've
piano.
never
Yeah.
seen the keyboard open and nobody's ever played it.
So,
And they would also
Just
beyond
as you
repair.
go in for the pool.
yeah.
And those pianos
On
are
the
beyond
aquatic
repair.
center side.
In terms
Are they, in terms of
in terms of
playability?
the playability and noise,
Big brown-
especially after
it's
we
not
left them
painted.
out for.
There's a
Oh, wait.
gentleman.
I was amazed
There's a gentleman that
at
goes
how
into
well
Brennan
it
Park
used,
too.
actually.
I
There
have
were
no
people
idea.
there all
I
the
should
time.
try it.
You know,
Yeah,
and some
Yeah.
pretty accomplished people playing on those.
yeah.
And that was just that first season, that first summer, and then they were left out.
And I think the intention of the project is never going to be permanent. It is just sort of gain some conversation, talk about the
Yeah.
summer.
Which was
different
brilliant, I get
yeah.
it, it's just too bad it didn't move kind of to an indoor venue,
Yeah.
where then
Yeah.
they'd be a little bit more sheltered and protected and that kind of stuff, because you see some of the train stations and some of that kind of thing, and people just sitting down and playing in these crowds.
We
Yeah.
agonized about those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We tried to find a good indoor,
Yeah.
last year we
venue
tried to find a
kind of
good
thing.
indoor venue to do it, and just nothing came up, so.
Yeah.
But we're not opposed to doing phase two, because we do apply in January, for the grant that funds all these youth programs. So I mean, if we had a piano come our way by and around that time, and people are keen on doing the project, it's certainly something to write into that program.
And if there was a home for it as well,
If there was a
right?
plan and a
Yeah.
home.
That would be the
Yeah,
big thing to
yeah,
actually
yeah.
establish,
Yeah.
where is
Yeah.
that home?
Yeah.
So that then it could be looked after, and there's issues around tuning it and, you know, that kind of stuff as well, I get it.
Yeah, and
But
then moving it is.
In Brennan Park, you've got people hanging out in there, you know, and it would be kind of cool to have something that wasn't a baby grand that you kind of don't want to have out in the middle of who knows where.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't be nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can't find
Sorry,
it.
I can't
No luck.
find it. Oh, well.
It's on my side.
So, what,
Too much.
That'd be so much fun.
I was just gonna talk about briefly is, it's the partnership between the Squamish Arts Council and Visuals, the Squamish Valley Artists Society, and as well as the district, right? Like we're talking about Art Walk, right? Like,
Oh,
so-
Art Walk, yes.
Yeah, so is that, the district is also a partner in it as well? Is that correct? Or-
Not,
Well, I
so
thought,
Rec Services.
yeah, Brennan Park,
Yeah,
yeah.
Brennan Park, they came to say they might do a little film, like a transportation piece.
Okay,
On
but,
their side.
but they didn't have any real involvement in the application for the grant?
No, that was at another
Yeah.
point in time.
Yeah, okay. So I don't know if you guys all know about this, but the Squamish Arts Council, was it, did you guys write the grant, or in
No,
conjunction
it's
with
visuals.
Visuals?
It's visuals.
Visuals,
Yes.
okay,
Visuals,
yeah. Anyway, so this year, we're gonna have an art walk, and it's gonna happen for the month of September, and there has been limited, applications for it, like we've got a call out for artists as well as venues, and it's free to the venues are free to anybody that wants to be a venue for the art walk. The only stipulation for artists to be part of it is that they have to be a member of either the Squamish Arts Council or Visuals, the Squamish Valley Artists, and there's been limited people signing up for it, so I was wondering if there's any way that we can get the district involved to maybe, the communications could put something out,
Absolutely.
to
Yep.
promote it and
Absolutely.
to look for more artists to sign
It's
up.
only for the month of September?
It's on for the whole month of September, yeah.
Sorry.
Could
Yeah.
the lobby of Municipal Hall be a posting? If someone would be willing to curate the space, we could maybe open our foyer.
And to have an art display,
Yes.
like an artist
very
use
cool.
it as a
Yeah.
venue, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be all on the
Yeah,
Manhattan
that would be
website.
great, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think you
I hope
just
you can
apply,
have
just
more
set
than
up a whole
just
form
there.
on their website, because they have a venue, just track.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. He's ordered
Yeah.
4 of them
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
at $3,500.
Devin, I can
Some of
just
the
send
other
you
developers
some
can-
information on
Absolutely,
it and
yeah.
a link and that,
Yeah.
and then,
And then
and
I'll-
mostly I just wanna make sure that the word gets put out,
Totally.
right? Because
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like too many people know about it, and that's because if they, obviously aren't directly connected with either
Yeah.
either Squamish Arts Council or Visuals, or don't see it on Facebook or whatever, then they wouldn't know.
Immediately, we can support you guys in the communication of applications and putting that communication out, and then come September, we can certainly support
Yeah.
you guys in
Okay.
the advertisement of
Right.
the
Yeah.
walk.
Okay, so I'll send you the information of where,
Yeah, please.
where venues, I know that the deadline for venues to sign up is the end of June, but it's mid-June for artists, and I'm pretty sure the deadline will get extended, but,
And what
Yeah.
about putting out the calls in, say, the Craft Council of BC and
Would-
that kind of thing? Get, if you say the artists have to be members of Visuals, that's the only criteria.
yeah.
Could you have other artists from Bowen Island?
Oh,
or
yeah,
West
for
End?
sure. They just
So
have
they-
to-
They have to know about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did put it out in the Sea to Sky Arts Council, so
Oh, yeah.
I asked all those councils, so that's
Yeah.
Pemberton, Lions Bay, Bowen, Whistler.
North Van,
North Van's not in that, so
Okay,
we
okay,
can
yeah.
reach North Van and West Van and just send it out to their boards,
Yeah.
RDPs, and ask them to spread the word. This is
cool.
our
Yeah, that's
artists,
amazing.
and some responsibility.
Um,
Because I know for North Van, our crawl, lots of Squamish and corridor artists go down there too.
So what is the sort of scope, the hope of scope? How many venues are you looking for, and how many artists are you looking for?
well, I'm not organizing it, I'm just trying to make sure that,
People know about it?
yeah, people know about it, but I'm limited, as far as venues, I'm limited. There's gonna be a map and, drawn up that will show all the different venues that are participating, and it's free for venues, so,
Mhm.
so it's just a matter of signing up, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, the SLRB is supporting as well, so hopefully we'll be representing it for your community as well.
But all I know is right now, there haven't been many, even just local artists signing up for it, and so I just want to make sure that the word gets that people know about it.
Is it curated? Is it?
No.
So it's open?
Open,
Okay.
yeah, completely open.
Yeah.
And
Is
where,
there
where can we find this form, the sign-up form?
Visuals?
Visuals.
It's on the Visuals
Yeah, on the
website?
Visuals website, so just type in.
We could
Google.
probably put a link in our public art page to it as well, maybe. we
Sure.
can figure it out.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
okay.
Yeah,
And even using our Facebook and social media.
exactly, that's.
Yeah.
Is there a Squamish Arts calendar?
We're trying to work on that.
Yeah, it would be so good. We've only been trying to work on it for 20 years.
Yes, try
Yeah, it would be
Okay.
great to have a consolidated calendar somewhere about
Yeah.
events and arts events.
Performing events and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. We've been in discussion with some other arts councils of the corridor and trying to do the Sea Sky Arts Coalition, trying to link information so that we're not
Yeah.
reinventing the wheel each time and maybe there's some cost savings in there in terms of web development. So we're trying to clean that up.
Yeah.
That's not easy.
One thing we talked about in the first year, we had our GIS person come to the table and we talked about geolocating all the public art that's out there and starting to consolidate, because there's some weird funky art in various different places, and going out and taking a picture and putting it on our GIS and start to get a public art page within our GIS system as well. So it's even a project that I think a school group or a youth group or something could sort of take on, and we may be able to find the seed funding for them to go out and take pictures and take a GIS locator doohickey. And then our GIS guys can plunk it into our system. So I just thought I'd bring that up because I
Yeah.
know we haven't talked
Yeah.
about that in a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
Step on.
Awesome, so just quickly back to, we'll just make one last, I'm wondering if the first thing we do is we basically say, we'd like to explore the idea of the Friends thing, and we ask our graphic design department to incorporate that design into a zebra stripe type, and then keeping the elements authentic to what the artist, what was his name, Zach? I can't remember. Danny, Zach. What Danny intended, but put it into a context of something that our ops guys could actually go and do. And if the committee's okay with that, maybe we'll appoint maybe 2 or 3 members to maybe just give an okay, and then we can just move forward with it. Does that sound good? It may require a couple extra dollars from us. I'm wondering if we want to allocate an additional $400 or something. It shouldn't be more than that. It should be quite a bit less than that, but
I would be confident with that, yeah.
okay.
This is to do this design work, is that right?
No, we can do the design, the incorporation of that design,
In-house?
our in-house. But this is to actually get the stencil created.
Right, yeah.
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 Is the committee cool with that?
Yep.
Okay. So maybe we'll have a motion to that effect, moved by Toby. Is that clear enough for you,
Yeah.
Terry? Terry's really good at translating my ambiguous words. Moved by Toby, seconded by Sydney. All those in favor, opposed, motion carries. Any 2 people want to sort of volunteer to have a look at this just to make sure? Toby, anybody else? We get 2 people. Fran? Awesome. I love volunteers.
That was Toby and Fran.
Awesome. So Devin, maybe if Sandra, whoever does it, and just send it out.
Yeah.
Happy to do the whole committee, but then we're waiting for everybody to feedback. But if we just have a couple eyes on it to say, yeah, that's authentic, that looks cool, that'd be great.
For clarification, are we, is the intent for that to be generally in the Brackendale school
I think
area?
that would be great.
Yeah.
And then he can go, and then the kids can say, hey, that's Danny's design, and it says friends, I'm one of his friends, and
Is that the one?
oh, kids, don't cry, Anne. What's that?
Is that the crosswalk across Government Road?
It will, I think we could determine which one, yeah. One of those in proximity to the Bracknell School.
The elementary school?
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. I think that's it. Motion to terminate the meeting. Moved by Meg, second by Sydney. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, everybody.